Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about spray foam. So it's 98 degrees right now. This thermometer is in the shade. It never gets direct sun, so that's a pretty accurate reading that reflects sort of the heat wave that everyone's experiencing right now. And it was about this time last year in a similar heat wave when I was framing the house that I decided, yeah, we're going to go with spray foam in this house. It's just too hot. We are in Kentucky, so we don't have to worry about cold as much as we did in upstate New York. But you can see it's 98 degrees outside. They finished spray foaming this yesterday. I left all of the windows open overnight, partially to help air out the chemical smell from the spray foam, but also to let all the cool air in from night. When I came in this morning, I shut all the doors so that everything was nice and tight, and you can see it's 80 degrees in here. So that's 81, maybe 82. So you're talking about like a 16 degree difference just from the insulation. The big deal about the spray foam is the air seal. If you're building new construction, I don't know why you don't go spray foam. It doesn't cost that much more. It is more expensive. The other thing, and for those who know me, know that I co-owned a spray foam company for a while, so I'm very familiar with this product. I'm very familiar with the process. The guys that did this did a great job, and we'll go into some details here in a second. But yeah, I mean, it's just a superior product. If the ceilings here were fiberglass or rock wool or anything other than spray foam, you'd be getting a lot of air infiltration. And so when the sun starts heating that roof on the top, you start feeling it below. But with spray foam, it doesn't. It just kind of bounces off, and you do not get the same effect. So like I said, it's 16 degrees cooler in here. And 2 or 3 days ago, when it was 90 degrees outside, it was 90 degrees inside. It was actually a little hotter because of the hot box effect. So now for some details, I guess. So when I did spray foam, I was in upstate New York. I pretty much only exclusively did closed cell foam. But that's mostly because there's higher R value requirements in upstate New York. And there's also the weather's a lot colder, obviously. You can have minus 15 degree weather for, a week or two at a time. We just don't have that down here. So here it's a little bit more for the heat. We did have our HVAC unit sized appropriately so that it took into account how tight the house was going to be. That HVAC unit also came with or is coming with an ERV, an air replacement system, just to take out stale air. So we did the entire upstairs with half-pound foam or open cell foam. So it's got about 1/4 the density of 2-pound foam because that's math. And so it's a little bit less R value than the 2-pound foam, but it's still pretty rigid. Like it's a little spongier than 2-pound foam. 2-pound foam, which we'll see down in the basement, you can't move at all. But this is pretty rigid. The house is already quieter, and the walls are stiffer, so that's a big advantage. The crew came in here with 2 foam rigs and like 7 guys, and they did this in 2 days, the whole house. It's not perfect, but spray foam never is. So there's some spots that are a little low. There's a lot of spots that are very high, and R value is about an average. It's not about what there is at any point on any wall. So overall, really happy with the job they did. I will buy a case of Great Stuff Big Gap and a case of Great Stuff Windows and Doors, and I'll go around and tighten up all of these little gaps around the windows. The other things these guys did, which I never did, was anywhere you had 2 wood plates come together, they caulked all the seams. So there's absolutely no air infiltration between where 2 pieces of board come together that you can't properly insulate. So they did this over the entire house. So just additional air sealing quality. So really, really happy with the result. And because we went with the half-pound foam, the price was not bad. Like it was, I was expecting to pay probably almost twice as much as I ended up paying, because I was expecting to do 2-pound foam because that's what I was most familiar with. But I just had a long conversation with the spray foam guy. He recommended, 6 inches in the roof, which I didn't think was enough. So we put 8 inches in the roof, which I do think is plenty. That's an R32 naturally, plus with the air seal, it's going to behave more like R40, R45. And in Kentucky, that is just fine. So really happy with everything. Take a look upstairs real quick. You can see they even did a skim coat on the headers and then cut all that down. So all of that is really tight. There are a couple of spots like this, which always seem to happen in spray foam, even when I was doing it. It's hard to make it perfect everywhere. So this is where we'll just get a can of great stuff and just fill in little things like this. So I'll spend a day looking for all these little spots and just add some great stuff. So now going upstairs. So typically, so far, this has been the absolute hottest area in the house. And it is currently 83, 84. It's actually one or 2 degrees difference than downstairs, which, given the fact that there's absolutely no air conditioning at all, not a single window is open, there's no breeze, that is pretty amazing that there's only a 1 or 2 degree difference. It would be a 10-degree difference between up here and the first floor, which we just came from. So everything is foamed over these storage areas. You can see all of this. I tell you, the temperature's not as bad inside as it is outside, but it is still pretty humid. But that'll get taken care of once we get the HVAC system turned on and we get the place dried out a little bit. All right, so now let's go down to the basement and show you what that looks like. So we did 2-pound foam in the basement, and we did that for one reason, and that's because we're not doing it in stud cavities. We're doing it on the bare cinder block wall. And the benefits of doing the 2-pound foam on the bare cinder block wall, well, there are some studs here that I had to frame out for the stairwell, but everything else, as you can see, there's no studding. There's just a wall of really smooth spray foam. Right up there at the top, that's a clear indication that the mixture on the gun started going off, so they probably stopped and readjusted their mixture or cleaned their gun and then continued from there. Absolutely no compromise to the foam, just the pattern's not quite as smooth. We got up in and around the rim joist all the way around, so there is zero air penetration from anywhere around the rim joist, and that rim joist is probably one of the most critical spaces to make sure you get foam, even if you don't do a whole basement, because the entire house just acts like a chimney and sucks all the air through the rim joist and then up through the top of the house. So that's going to be, the rim joist is one of the biggest money savers in a house if you don't do anything else for foam. But you can just see how smooth this is. If you remember when we poured the foundation, I had these 2-inch foam board panels placed between the slab that we poured and the cinder block wall. So then this foam just comes down to meet this. Where there are seams, here is another spot where I'll come in with the great stuff and just seal all of those up completely, so they'll be completely foamed in. And now what I'll do for the rest of the basement, when we get around to it, is I'll build frame out walls like this, which set off the wall about 3 inches. And so it'll be built out in front of all of the insulation. So Really big step. Drywall next, and continue to make progress. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. This is where I'm at. See you next time.